Horner secretly signs huge deal with Aston Martin after crazy twist got leaked. Christian Horner might be down, but he's definitely not out. After his dramatic exit from Red Bull, the paddock's been buzzing with questions about where the longtime team principal could land next. The name that keeps popping up more than any other? Aston Martin. And honestly, if you look past the chaos and connect the dots, this could be the wildest yet most sensible move Formula One has seen in years. Let's get one thing straight. Horner isn't the type to just fade into the background. This is a man who's been at the forefront of Red Bull since 2005, leading them through era after era, weathering dominance from Mercedes, and turning Max Verstappen into a generational beast. That level of control, ambition, and influence doesn't just go dormant overnight. He wants back in, and not just in some advisory role sitting behind the scenes. Horner wants power, real power. Now here's where Aston Martin comes into play. On the surface, it might seem like a stretch, but when you really break it down, the fit is almost too perfect. Aston has been throwing money at its infrastructure like there's no tomorrow. New wind tunnel, upgraded factory, poaching top-tier talent like Newey and Andy Cowell. They're not here to play around. They want a championship. And if they're serious about it, why not bring in the guy who built a modern-day dynasty from scratch? But of course, things are never that simple in Formula One. There's one name that complicates everything: Lawrence Stroll. The man owns the team. His son Lance is in the driver's seat, quite literally. And if there's one thing Horner is known for, it's discipline and control. The same kind of control he had at Red Bull. Total command over team dynamics, decisions, and direction. That doesn't exactly gel with a setup where nepotism hangs heavy over the garage. Still, from Lawrence's perspective, the appeal of Horner is undeniable. Christian's leadership is proven, his network is deep, and his brand is global. He could bring a level of credibility and sharpness to Aston that could finally move them out of midfield pretender status into actual title contention. But would Lawrence be willing to hand over real control? That's the multi-million-dollar question. And then there's the Newey factor. After all the drama that unfolded at Red Bull, including the internal power struggles that pushed both Horner and Newey to the brink, the idea of the two working together again seems far-fetched. Newey reportedly couldn't stand the way Horner handled things during the downfall. And let's be honest, Formula One egos don't heal that easily. If Aston wants to keep Newey on board, bringing Horner into the same ecosystem might be a ticking time bomb. But here's the twist. Christian Horner might not even want the same kind of role he had before. According to Bernie Ecclestone, yes, the Bernie, Horner has zero interest in becoming a team owner or playing the long game with startups like Alpine. He's looking for something more instant, more impactful, a team with infrastructure, ambition, and a platform ready to go. A place where he doesn't have to build from the ground up, just steer the ship with full control. And Aston Martin checks almost all those boxes. Except for the whole Stroll family circus bit. That's the one big red flag. Everything else? Green lights. From the facilities to the ambition to the need for someone with serious experience to lead them into the new era. Which begs the question, are both sides bold enough to take the risk? Because if they are, the grid might never be the same again. There's another layer to this whole situation that makes it even more intriguing. Max Verstappen. The reigning world champion isn't just Red Bull's golden boy, he was Christian Horner's ultimate product. From the moment Max joined the team, Horner went all in, building a structure around him that would turn the young prodigy into the unstoppable force we see today. And yet, that relationship may be exactly why Horner and Aston Martin don't mix. Max's father, Jos Verstappen, was one of the loudest voices during the drama that led to Horner's downfall. Insiders say he was instrumental in pushing the narrative that Horner needed to go. Whether that was personal, political, or strategic, it's clear that any future involving Horner and Max under the same roof is pretty much a no-go. So if Christian does end up at Aston Martin, that instantly closes the door on any possibility of Max ever considering a switch to to the green team. But maybe that's the point. Maybe Aston Martin isn't chasing Max. Maybe they want to build something that doesn't revolve around one superstar driver. And with Fernando Alonso likely on his way out in the next year or two, this team will need a fresh face to lead the charge. Someone young, hungry, and willing to buy into a long-term vision. Horner knows how to spot and develop that kind of talent. He did it with Sebastian Vettel. He did it with Max. There's no reason he couldn't do it again. Still, the biggest hurdle remains Lance Stroll. You can pour billions into infrastructure, hire every top engineer on the planet, and bring in a world-class leader like Horner, but if your second driver is underperforming and untouchable, that becomes a ceiling no amount of money can break through. Christian is used to working with killers, guys who live and breathe racing, who know that their seat is never guaranteed. That's how you create a championship culture, and with Lance, that just doesn't exist. Now, here's where things get spicy. The shareholder situation at Aston Martin is shifting. Lawrence Stroll might still be the face, but his grip on power isn't what it used to be. Private equity and external investors are starting to have more say in how the team operates. And if they see Horner as the missing piece to unlock the team's true potential, they might push hard to bring him in, regardless of how it affects the Stroll family dynamic. It's all a game of leverage at this point. Horner knows he's still in demand. Teams like Alpine are circling. Pundits like Martin Brundle and Nico Rosberg have already thrown his name into future team ownership discussions, but Christian doesn't want to wait years building something up from scratch. He wants impact, he wants influence, and most importantly, he wants control. That's why any deal with Aston would need to come with serious authority. He's not going to walk into a political minefield without the power to make real decisions. The guy built a Formula One empire once. He's not about to play second fiddle to anyone now. What's wild is how the entire paddock is holding its breath. Teams know that wherever Horner lands next, it's gonna shift the balance of power. Whether it's Aston Martin or someone else, it won't be a quiet return. It'll be a statement, one that says the game's not over. In fact, it might just be starting a brand new chapter. Aston Martin isn't just preparing for another season, they're gearing up for a revolution. The way they've invested in technology, recruited top engineering minds, and doubled down on infrastructure makes it clear they're done being midfield hopefuls. They want to win, and winning, as everyone in Formula One knows, starts long before the lights go out on Sunday. So imagine pairing all of that raw potential with someone like Christian Horner, who's been through it all: title fights, internal chaos, media storms, and comeback stories. He doesn't just understand pressure, he thrives under it. He's been in the fire, reshaped teams from within, and delivered results year after year. That's exactly the kind of leadership Aston needs if they're serious about cracking the code to a championship. But that kind of leadership comes with a cost. Horner won't play puppet. He needs freedom to restructure the team the way he sees fit. That could mean reorganizing departments, shifting technical priorities, or even reshaping the driver lineup, none of which are small asks in a team that still carries a heavy Stroll signature on every layer of its DNA. Which brings us to Honda. The Japanese giant re-enters the picture soon, and their alliance with Aston Martin adds another twist to the potential Horner saga. Remember, it was Christian who helped steer Red Bull away from Honda when the partnership got shaky. He orchestrated the move toward Red Bull powertrains, setting the foundation for their post-Honda era. That decision, while strategic, may have left a sour taste in Honda's mouth. Would Honda welcome Horner back into a team they're deeply embedded with? That's not just a minor political question, it's a deal breaker. Honda's been burned before, and the Japanese approach to loyalty and corporate relationships isn't exactly forgiving. If they view Horner as a risk to their stability, they might apply pressure behind the scenes to block such a move. On the flip side, if Aston's shareholders believe Horner is the final piece of the puzzle, they could try to smooth things over and get everyone on board. The reality is, Formula One teams are like organisms. They need a central nervous system to function cohesively, and Christian Horner has always been that for Red Bull. When you remove someone like that, the void is massive. Aston Martin doesn't just need more engineers or new parts, they need vision, and no one brings vision quite like Horner. He builds systems, aligns people, and knows exactly how to play the long game without losing short-term momentum. There's also the media factor. Christian's a magnet magnet for headlines, good or bad. He knows how to spin narratives, deflect pressure from drivers, and control the conversation. That's a massively underrated skill in modern F1, where drama off the track is sometimes just as important as speed on it. With Fernando Alonso still around and always a lightning rod for attention, pairing him with Horner would make Aston Martin the most talked about team on the grid overnight. Of course, timing is everything. Horner isn't in a rush to jump into the first opportunity that comes his way. He's watching, waiting, calculating his next move with the precision of a strategist who's been playing this game for 2 decades. And Aston Martin? They're at a crossroads. Continue with the current structure and hope for incremental gains, or take a bold leap and gamble on the man who's proven he can deliver greatness. If they take that leap and if Horner takes the wheel, Formula One might just witness the rise of a new empire. Built not from scratch, but from the perfect storm of ambition, chaos, and timing.